quick introduction as to why we're doing this. When we talked about an efficiency project, there were actually 6 efficiency projects that Todd and the team had us work on in the last few months, kind of in conjunction with OKRs. So this was one of the efficiency projects, and all of them were actually a really wonderful way to collaborate with other teams within marketing that we don't normally work with. So I think there was a lot of good feeling, and I know I got to know a lot of people a lot better through the process too. But Emily, do you just want to do a quick overview?
Yeah. So Todd must be psychic and knew that COVID was just gonna like stick with us for a while. And so he had selected virtual events to be one of our pillars to focus on. And the goal of the project was that we figure out how to enable people to just go live at any time. And at the time when this started, obviously the world was changing, but we also, we had the GitLab Unfiltered channel, and we had ways of people doing that, but they weren't really enabled to do so unless they were practiced and knew exactly where to find the information. So the goal was to make it a lot simpler for people, streamline the process, and then also allow them to get any support they needed throughout their process, and allow them know what marketing resources were available to them. And then additionally adding best practices so that everybody's kind of like following the same brand guidelines and such. So that's kind of where we started. And in the slide deck, you can see what the V1 of the project was and what we were focusing on. And it looks like Sid has the first question, and I think Agnes might be answering it, but Sid, do you want to vocalize?
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I think we're seeing that virtual events are super cost effective for us to get new leads. And so I'm excited about using that channel more. I love the decision tree. I'm a bit confused that in the decision tree, webcast is the opposite of self-service. My suggestion would be maybe we can talk about self-service webcast, promoted webcast, managed webcast, sponsored webcast as a way to disambiguate, because I don't think people are going to use, oh, if it's a webcast, it means it's managed by marketing, and otherwise I'm going to say self-service webcast with promotion. Like that's too many words for efficient communication.
That's good feedback. Agnes, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for the feedback. I think, yeah, we're not married to the terminology, so we're happy to tweak it as you suggested. I think we just wanted to make sure to clarify that what is managed versus not, but your terminology sounds like it will do the same. So
great.
This was all very clear. Bye, everybody. No.
There's a link in the handbook. I put it under to a calendar, but it doesn't tell me how to actually view that calendar. Or does it maybe, we just add a link or something?
Sid, the Google Calendar is embedded on the page. Are you able to see it?
Oh, that is the real one. I thought that was a screenshot. Oh, that is neat. Okay, I retract my question. I wasn't aware. Thank you.
One of the things you may see in there is that we really wanted more people to try this out and give us feedback. So we started to get that, feedback from others. But if you want to try it, you don't have to do much with it. But, obviously everybody can contribute, and we would love to see more people trying out this self-service. So if you have questions as to how to do that, we're happy to, talk through that as well.
I'm trying to type in the doc, but this must be super popular group conversation today because I'm locked out. Hopefully someone can help me get this in there, but I'm curious what goals, Dara or Emily, you have for how many people or how many of these self-service webcasts you'd like to see over the next, quarter. Do you have those numbers in mind?
So I guess I would say we really want to focus less on like volume over like quality interactions. And we would love to see like more and more people like kind of starting on their own path and like promoting GitLab in different ways. And I think we've seen like a lot of SDRs doing, a lot of field people doing it. We want to encourage those things, but we're also just not trying to force it. When we went into like the testing stage of this and like seeing how the process worked, we asked the technical evangelism team, the SDRs again, field, who else am I forgetting? Anyway, groups that we knew were pretty vocal in the community to test this out. And we set a metric of trying to get 100 people. We didn't quite get there, like testing it out, but again, there's no real numbers around like how many people we expect to do this, because I think we always want to be focusing on, again, like quality over quantity. But you know, everyone can contribute, so the more the merrier. Dara, anything to add, or anybody else?
Not to get into it in too much detail, but one of the other efficiency projects was about GitLab TV. So, you know, obviously, if there's some great videos that we can garner here and make them part of GitLab TV, that will be exciting for us. But again, it is focused on quality. We didn't put a quantity number on it.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies.
We're waiting for yours, Emily.
I don't think so, but thanks.
If I can follow up with that, what are the weights or measures or signals that you are using to measure quality? If the quality is the goal, what are the signals that you're looking at?
I'd say there's 2 points there. One would be the quality of our documentation, so how easy it is for other people to follow. So if people are getting messed up throughout the process, if they're like not using the issue template, or you know the design templates are too difficult for them to use, then I'd say we need to put in some work on that side. And then in terms of quality of the output would be, again, was the documentation clear? Are people like using correct tags? So if it's like a talk on CI/CD, like does it have that tag? Is it in the proper channel? So again, I think those qualities. I also think the decision tree helps people decide which route they should go, and as long as they're slotted into the correct path, and a lot of that is based on the audience and the time frame, and so as long as they're kind of going the right route, I think we're hoping, and again, we probably need more feedback on this, but that it'll end like in the best quality and presentation for us all around.
And as a follow-on to that sort of quality of the video, is that where you were headed to, William? What I'm thinking too is that's going to be, people that have watched it and give us good feedback there, and are they sharing the video, and what is it doing? So I think that'll.
And a lot of that ties into the GitLab TV project that I was talking about before, where there's like GitLab TV channels and everyone has different metrics. So for example, one of the ones was an event channel, and our goal was to like grow 10% month over month. So those things, if we're producing quality content, we'll see that growth.
And when you say grow 10%, is that 10% views? What's growing 10% in the number of video views?
10% grow 10% views, and then there's also if people are subscribing to our channel generally.
Do you have any of those metrics handy?
I don't. This just ended like 2 weeks or a couple weeks ago, and we haven't like looped back around. We also, those were metrics created we're still on YouTube, which I don't know if Erica is on the call, but she can speak. Like the metrics and reporting aren't great right now. So until I think we move to another platform, we're not going to have the level of granularity we would hope for. But we still need to loop back around on what those initial numbers look like.
Cool, thank you.
I think I have the next question. Do you see these as being coded, or would this be, are we trying to create like a library that the field marketing team can pick up and reuse?
You cut out for me, so I don't know if anybody else got the question.
Sorry. Is it total self-promotion, or are we creating like a library that the field marketing team can pick up and reuse these?
I can answer that. For the promotion portion, it will be total self-promotion for the self-service ones. And then for the other, there's a webcast. If the webcast with promotion, basically self-service with promotion. That one marketing will help actually promote those a little bit through email and social. And then the managed webcast will totally be managed in terms of promotion by marketing. Like there'll be paid social, organic, as well as email. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I'm wondering, are we trying to just get more content out there? Is that kind of okay?
The idea is that, and plus with COVID basically enabling everyone to kind of go live faster, just because if everything's managed by the marketing programs team, for example, for webcast, there's only one license. So everyone's fighting for that license, as well as it takes time to promote all the events.
Cool. Thank you.
But regardless of promotion, the videos will be there, if there were great content, right? It's not like it's going away. So yes, you could use it in field marketing. Okay.
I do want to add on to that in the past few months, there have been a couple different types of webcasts that have been teased out as really valuable and something that's being built into the strategy moving forward. Several of those are, we've always had campaign webcasts aligned to our use case campaigns, and there's also been more focus on partner webcasts. So you'll see more of those coming out from marketing, as well as workshops, which are more hands-on in using in a demo with that the field marketing has been driving, field marketing team. So we'll be adding some more documentation around the specific types, but those are something that's a big more of a push. We have a lot more integrated steps that different teams in marketing have to have a piece of. But self-service, yes, anybody can go live. If you have a great idea for something that you'd like to promote, you have all of the documentation to go and launch that on your own. So that
it could be a good way to test some new message or new idea.
Cindy, do you want to volunteer to do a self-service webcast?
At some point, I'm so inundated with non-self-service webcasts at the moment. But yes, at some point I would.
Madeline, it looks like you're next.
Yes, thank you. I'm curious with these virtual events, how the leads are flowing back to SDRs, not necessarily the operations of it, but are they getting content and information on how the attendees are engaging so that they can kind of cater their messaging? And then with our first pilot, how have the leads been performing so far?
I can probably speak to that a little bit. So for everything that's not self-service, it's going to follow the typical process using Marketo forms. So those leads are going to follow the regular process of getting to the SDRs and being nurtured. For self-service, it's been a little bit more MVC1, a little bit basic. So we're having to do the manual list upload process because there's limitations within Zoom forms and Zoom registration pages that we're still trying to work through. Not just with collecting those leads and all of the information that's pertinent to SDRs, but also making sure that we're GDPR compliant with this self-service process. So,
do we know about how many leads we've received? And sorry if that information is posted and I missed it.
To my knowledge, we haven't had a run for self-service that meets that. Dara, if you can fill in the blanks on that, but to my knowledge, there hasn't been.
Yeah, I don't think it is gotten to a point yet where we're looking at it as all the self-service and how have they done. Again, this is so new. And part of why we're doing this today is get awareness out so that more people do the self-service. As Emily listed off a couple of people that have been trying it out, but at the moment, the testers have been lighter than we'd hoped.
Okay.
I don't think it's probably pretty top of funnel right now. It's just people getting videos out and awareness and on social. I don't think we've seen that trickle down yet necessarily.
That would be interesting to know too, as we start to track this, if this lead flow maybe takes longer to nurture compared to in-person events or other events we've tried in the past. I'd love to see that kind of down the road.
That's definitely something that we'll take note of. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add, we can also create a Salesforce report to track that type in Salesforce and then attach it here. So it's a real-time report that you can click right after this call. We can easily create that, just the top funnel data, where how many leads have we gotten from it.
Great idea. Thanks, Agnes.
The only other thing that I would add from my side is I'm wondering if, and I thought we embedded that in the process of where the leads would go from a nurture. I thought we were going to identify sort of what nurture campaign we'd put them in. Did that make it in the MVC one? I can't remember.
Not necessarily.
So I think it really depends on like what the content was. So we can't just blanket put everybody in the same campaign.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe for MVC2, we have whoever is doing the self-service identify sort of where it aligns to a campaign, so at least we know where to put it. So if we get 25 leads out of a self-service, we can actually nurture them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the next steps, and I think this is outlined in MVC2, is that we kind of connect the dots with, maybe bridging the gap between like GitLab TV and the events into like next steps into content coding. I think we're looking into, content management platforms. So those things are an option for us.
I have a question that is not necessarily aimed at the virtual events team that was working on this agility project, but for those who have not done a self-service event or self-service webcast and that are on the call and have looked through the slides, I'm curious how many of you feel comfortable to do a self-service, and if not, what are some of the things that would make you uncomfortable with trying out the self-service webcast process that's been outlined? Maybe that's feedback we can use for building in maybe something that would help you feel more comfortable and outline something for you to use moving forward.
I can jump in on that because I had looked at this when y'all were soliciting early adopters, and I'm very interested in doing it. My biggest reservation is not the webcast itself, but the time to make sure things are set up properly to capture the leads and all of that. That's my biggest concern, is the time for that.
So I will say at the moment, the capturing of the leads may just be a list that we upload, right? We haven't gotten, as I mentioned, the Zoom connection, we haven't gotten that set up. So really it is as manual as that sounds, but we do that fairly regularly with events anyway. So it's part of, the normal process. We're hoping not to have to continue that as this grows. But for the most part, as far as having it be worthwhile after you do it, we can absolutely guarantee that the leads will get in. And
yeah, but that burden then falls on the speaker that's doing the self-service, right? That's my concern. Do I have time for that?
And I'm kind of curious, just to double click on that, Cindy, is the concern around creating the Zoom registration landing page or the actual receiving the leads? Okay.
Both. All of that is extra work that I don't normally have to do. I like to focus on creating the content and doing the delivery. And if I now have to focus on all these other things too, that's why I'm saying, not jumping on it saying I'll do it right now, because I just don't see having the time to dig in, figure it out, and do those with what I have on my plate right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, maybe that's something we can think about, having even a go live that doesn't require a landing page, and then be able to download the list. If that's something we can look into with the virtual events as an MVC2, because that would take some of the setup work out of it. If you can just blast a link to whatever your audience is and see if they're available at that time, or give them a heads up, something along those lines might be an option to add to the handbook.
Or templatize the landing page where it's just a matter of tweaking a code to make it go to, into a security campaign versus into a CI campaign or something like that. I don't know.
I'm sure I'll use it at some point. I can't commit to some because I was made aware of it yesterday, or I came through it yesterday. But I'll use it and I'll provide feedback definitely.
Thanks, Jordy. Looks like Madeline, you have another question there.
Yeah, I have another thought. And apologies if I'm missing kind of the current purpose of this, but I'm just sort of thinking out loud. Curious if individuals can pick any topic they would want to do a webcast on. And then if so, would this be something we could utilize if we start to see success with it in the future? Kind of looking at support tickets and what comes through from clients and prospects on frequently asked questions, and submitting educations and trainings of webcasts that could sort of lighten the essay and TAM load.
That sounds like a fabulous idea.
Cool.
And the answer is yes, you can pick any topic.
Okay.
I think there are parameters around like what we'd be able to support from a marketing side. If you just wanted to have a weekly webcast about like what it's like working remotely, I don't know if we could support that from a marketing side, but if you're like, hey, I want to pick up all these support tickets and do, get people to train on these, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Newt, we're all for any topic. Go for it.
Thanks.
Okay, we only have 3 minutes left. Are there any additional questions?
I'd like to get everyone's kind of feedback on the word webcast. I have an issue open for that. I thought when I first started at GitLab, I did think it was strange to use that word. It was just webinar is what I had been using at all of my previous jobs. And so I'm just curious, is that something that certain geographies skew more toward using the word webcast? Is it, I don't know. So I just wanted to get people's feedback on that real quick.
And to me, if I may add, as a consumer of both, although the same thing, both sound really old school. I mean, I think that the new kids on the block right now talk about maybe streams. I'm not sure. I'm not young, but both sound pretty old school to me. Although I still use them myself, I prefer webinar.
Streaming is slightly different because it's live and it's going to multiple channels at once, whereas the webinar is just the one channel. But yes, I don't know if you missed Sid's first question, but this did come up. And it sounds like from the chat that Jackie has an issue related. So yes, as Agnes mentioned earlier, we are not married to these terms. We want to make it super clear and easy for everyone to contribute to this.
And if changing the name makes you contribute more, we should change the name.
It seems that webinar is like way more popular and a thing that spiked during COVID. So it seems to be the thing that people do.
If I recall correctly, I think I was part of a conversation maybe two or more years ago that webinar sounded like a formal thing, like I'm going to go generate leads, and webcast sounded more like something that people might engage with that was less formal. And so it was an attempt to focus on maybe engineers or developer type user personas. That being said, I think that decision was made quite a while ago. So maybe webinar is a good one to go because people just know that term and use it more frequently for SEO purposes.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I think another thing that to me is very confusing is we do quite a few partner webcasts. I'm going to use an internal term webcasts, but they call them webinars. And so when Alicia can speak to this, when we're promoting, because we have a GitLab speaker, we have to call it. I have to call it webinar in the email because it's driving to their landing page and they call it webinar. So I'm sending one email one week where I call it a webinar, and another email the next week where I call it a webcast. It's just very confusing. I think way back in the day, those two words had two different meanings and they were discrete. And I think now, webinar is kind of taking off, at least from what I've seen.
Michael Friedrich has a comment that Michael, it would be better if you could put it in the notes doc so it doesn't disappear when this is over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I will copy it over. I was thinking, or I've heard that webinar is a trademark term in Germany, but I could be mistaken. I'm not sure about it.
All right, I think we are at time. Thank you so much for joining us. And please go do your webinar, webcast, streaming, whatever you want to call it. Thank you.